So, hello everybody. I'm Mandy Tingler. I am the Chief Marketing Officer and co-owner of Canagram Delivery Service, as well as Camilla Manufacturing and Distribution. And I'm also the head of business relations for Conception Nurseries, all of which are licensed cannabis entities here in the city of Sacramento. But today, we're not here to talk about me. I am the least important here. These lovely ladies are here to talk about a very hot topic, something that 5-10 years ago would be blasphemous to speak about. And so today, we are here to talk about the use of cannabis through all stages of motherhood. Yes, I said it, all stages. Ooh. Okay, so real quick, I'm going to give a lovely intro to my amazing panelists here, and they are amazing. And real quick, just so you know, if you're on Instagram, grab your phone because I'm giving you their Instagram handles. They are undeniably good. Ready? All right, so first and foremost, all the way down there on the far end, is my dear, dear friend and longtime colleague, Kelly Usborne Bruce. She is the Canna Mommy on Instagram. We also have right next to her, Miss Kindness Ramirez. Her company is called Club Kindness, and you can most definitely find her online at Miss Kindness B. All right. And third, we have Miss Sabrina Guerrero. Her handle is Who Let Me Be a Mom. I ask myself that question all the time. That was a great one. And last but certainly not least, we have Jessica Gonzalez, and she is the Mommy Jane. So ladies, I hope you're ready because I've got some whopper questions for you. And no, I didn't tell them what I was going to ask them. They're not prepped for this. But I'm going to go right in. Are you ready? Okay. So, I'm a mom. And I've had all my own trials and tribulations and fun with cannabis as a mom. Lots and lots of stories. But I think what I'd really like to start with is something very basic. We'll get a little bit thicker into it in a moment. What I'd really like to talk about is the generation gap. And as women whose generation is becoming more and more open to the acceptance of cannabis, how do we bridge the generation gap between our mothers and grandmothers and our children about cannabis?
I'd like to go first.
Yeah, go first. You grab it first, you go.
Being an educator, right? That's going to be my answer to everything through education. But I find that it starts with you showing your own personal use. So you have to move out of shame and be willing to express the why, know your why, and then when you embody that and you walk in that confidence, it starts to provoke questions. In my case, because I decided to enter the industry over 10 years ago, during this period we were talking about, I did have to overtly come out to some people because I needed them to know I'm about to do this, but also that meant me being confident. So starting with self, knowing your why, and then imbuing that in your walk, your talk, your health, your wealth, and provoking questions that allow you to meet them where they are. I didn't try to change minds right out the gate and tell people what they were wrong about, or tell my elders that I know more than them. It was really me provoking questions through my own behavior that allowed me to see where they were, see what they knew, and then meet them there to bring them a little closer to this side.
So for me personally, I've always used cannabis from an early age, and of course, when you're young, it's like, oh, they're using they're smoking weed, and they must be like, they're just young and reckless. But then I guess for me, in my case, it became, a habit that didn't go away. It was a habit. But and it's like how you were saying, be the example. So I like you said also, it holds for open conversations. So I just knew that I wasn't gonna back down. Everyone always knew, and then when I became a mom, I think everyone expected for that to kind of go away. But instead, I educated myself even more and realized how cannabis was helping me. So I went from using it, recreationally to medicinally and both. And so when, my mom would say she takes, medicine to make her go to sleep, and I'd say, well, if you just took a gummy, you wouldn't have to deal with the grogginess in the morning. It would just help you fall asleep. Or if there was a pain that my grandmother had for arthritis, I'd recommend, a salve or even, again, a gummy. And so I feel like that's when people started saying, in my family, oh, well, maybe I will give cannabis a try. Because I tried everything else and nothing else was working for me. And, obviously things are working for her, so maybe it'll work for me. So the way I bridge cannabis with my family is recommending products. Oh, you can't sleep? Oh, you should try this. Oh, you have pain? You should try this. And then, or you got stung by a bee? You should take some CBD. It'll take the swelling down. And it's so versatile that you can really recommend it for anything. And that's how I try to end the stigma within my family, having that open conversation and recommending cannabis for certain things.
Yes, I think that's really good. I was a little bit more aggressive with my family. I gifted them constantly, whether it was Christmas or their birthday or me stopping by on a Tuesday. You got bath bombs, you got a CBN tincture, you got a one-to-one, and I was incessant about just putting it in front of them and creating that lifestyle for them, knowing my family and knowing how they already operate. My mom already enjoyed bath bombs. So how can I find a product that was already going to flow into her lifestyle? We don't want them to change their whole routine. We don't need them picking up joints if that's not their lifestyle. We need to tune in to our elders, respect their lifestyle, respect that they're going to be a little hesitant, and how do we make that comfortable for them? Products that you trust, products that you love, and products that are also backed by other boomers. To be honest, it's really important that we know who's making our medicine. That's why we're here today, and that's why the awards happen. Trust these moments in history where we are showcasing brands that are valuable not only to us, but the people that we love. And cannabis, we give gifts of wine and cheese and all these things, but why can't we give the gift of health and wellness too?
Am I on your businesses? Am I on your businesses?
Forever and always.
I wanna piggyback on what Jessica was saying. I think it's on. I don't know. It's on. Okay. See, they give me the mic and they take it off because they know. I'm just kidding. I did what Jessica was talking about, going through my mom's peer group. So my mom, I grew up in a very conservative East Coast family in the state of Virginia, Northern Virginia to be exact. And cannabis was like, if you use it, you're going to be homeless, poor, on the streets, your life is ruined. Clearly that did not happen. So my mom still, even though in Virginia now it's legal, is very scared of cannabis because she very much believes what was indoctrinated into her. So I had to go and pretty much give my products, bath bombs and creams, to her friends. And when her friends were not scared and tried it and had beautiful experiences, it was then them telling my mom, you should try this, that then got her to actually try it. So for me, I couldn't break it. I couldn't get through to her no matter what. And even my dad, fighting cancer for 1.5 years, they still were very scared, wouldn't touch it no matter what I said. But it wasn't until someone else in their peer group told them. So that's how I broke through. I didn't really. I got to go through the other side.
And some people you can't change. There are going to be family members and friends that are just never going to budge. And you have to accept that. You have to realize that we can lead the horse to water. We cannot force them to drink. But as long as we lead by example,
As you put it
educate,
in
and share through our experiences, that's the way we do it.
I agree.
Education is destigmatizing.
Okay.
Back on.
All right, so thank you for that. The next thing that I would really like to explore and talk about is as parents, and cannabis using parents. I know that there's stigma at the school level maybe at the administration, maybe you're the weed parent or the stoner mom or dad, and maybe you are dealing with a little bit of, disrespect perhaps or awkwardness. Maybe the office, I know that I get this often. My kids go to school in a county, in Placer County, that doesn't allow cannabis access and operations, and I personally marched myself into every single high school principal's office and I introduced myself. I told them what businesses I'm a part of and if they have any questions about cannabis or paraphernalia or whatever. And to this day, I get text message photos. What is this? Is this for drugs? What do you think? And I tell them every time, probably not. Probably not. But anyway, this is my question. Ready? So when you are a parent who uses cannabis and your child goes to school and shares this with their friends or their teachers, have you ever dealt with this experience and how?
Sorry. I had a mom approach me on a bus on a field trip and said right in my face, "You are the reason why kids vape these days. You're normalizing something so dangerous. I'm a principal at an elementary school, and I cannot believe that you are recommending that this is something that should be accessible to others," and was just in my face. And I was in Irvine, California, if you guys know about Irvine. And I was the room mom at the time and very open about my cannabis use as the Mommy Jane. And so everybody in town knew what I was doing, but that mom, the principal of the other school, was not a fan of me, and she made that very clear.
And her to the Christmas list. You need to gift her at Christmas.
Oh, and also I gifted the teacher CBD too. Not gonna say everybody should do that, but my teachers got CBD.
So I had a kind of a negative experience in that when I first started consuming cannabis and being vocal about it about 10 years ago, I was in the state of Colorado in a little town called Breckenridge, and I was teaching skiing and I was teaching children music, so I was very hands-on with children. And I got in a car accident and it led to herniated discs in my neck and my back, and so I got put on prescriptions of Ambien, muscle relaxer, and Percocet. And I really did not like that combination. So I moved to using cannabis topically for the pain, orally with the gummies for sleeping. So I got very vocal about that. And I wanted to tell everybody, hey, you don't need to smoke the cannabis. You can use it topically. And I, it was like a walking billboard. Well, my community felt that I should not be working with children because I was openly admitting to using a Schedule I drug. And I got in a lot of trouble. CPS was up at my door. I got founded because I openly admitted to using a Schedule I drug while in the presence of minors. And so that is really and this was 10 years ago in the state of Colorado. And so I got scared after that to talk about it. And I kind of went in the shadows for a little while. And it wasn't until my second pregnancy 6 years later that I then found the courage. So I had a different experience with my community. And again, that was 10 years ago. The experience that I have now is very different. I've learned to just not really absorb other people's opinions and stand in my own truth. But I was, at that time, very, very scared. And it was a big deal. I was on probation for 2 years. I had to be watched very carefully, and everything got dropped. I ended up being very lucky in that example. But yeah, so, my approach to sharing information with people is, you have to really, again, decide where you're comfortable in your own truths and then feel confident in walking in that. And that's not just with cannabis, that's with anything in motherhood. So cannabis is just another layer in that.
How you raise your kids is not up to other people, right?
Right. Well, just being able to stand in your own truth, whether that's with co-sleeping, breastfeeding, whatever it is, right? Motherhood is very judgmental. And so that was my first kid. I was very vulnerable and, I wasn't as strong as I am today, but that is my experience, is that you just have to really feel comfortable in it because you will get people coming at you. And so you just have to decide, how do you want to approach it?
I think we're all speaking to this evolution. We're here today because we're proud and we're out and we're willing to talk about it. And so the perspective we're coming from today is vastly different than 10 years ago because we had a similar experience, and that, my use during pregnancy led me to test positive, which sent me down the CPS path, which made me actually become an advocate, because I was like, oh no, let's have this talk. I actually am a classroom educator. I actually work in public schools and have done it for over 20 years. And so I'm on the other side of that, understanding that as mandated reporters, we have a responsibility to our community, to our student population, to preserve and protect them. And so when the teachers are uneducated, they're only sort of doing their job, right? Putting it into this category with all other Schedule I drugs and following the guidelines of the law. But because I injured myself during pregnancy and immediately became a patient and cured my body and fought with doctors and fought with CPS and had to advocate for myself, I became, like what you described, the resource for the district.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you know who I am, and if you wanna come for me, please try.
Yeah.
Because we're gonna go,
Let's
right?
go.
And I want to be a resource for you. I want to educate you. You can't take my degrees away, you can't take my job away. So I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that you know what you're talking about when you try to come for me. I love that idea of letting them know who we are,
Yeah.
so that we can serve as a resource. But it started with a fight, and that's what sparked the desire to do this.
My kids are still young. I have a 5-year-old and a 1-year-old. My son just started preschool this past year, and I, pick him up, drop him off at school, and I wear my moms who cannabis shirt, or moms who use cannabis are not bad moms, things like that, shirts, and not even thinking twice about it. Just getting up in the morning, putting a shirt on, and heading out the door. And then I remember in the beginning, I did feel a little like, oh my gosh, my haircut ready to leave. Like I did feel a little self-conscious about it. And then after a while, I was like, well, why? Why? I don't like if I'm going to be an cannabis advocate, then why not at school too? And I remember I was the only one who participated in volunteering in the classroom when they finally allowed it. And so I wore my cannabis shirt one day, and I'm not meaning to, again, just normal, getting dressed in the morning, and heading to school. And I just remember thinking, I am the younger mom here. Everyone else is not old, just older than I am, and I am seen as, oh, she's the young mom. She's the young mom, and she's wearing her cannabis shirt. But at the end of the day, I was the only one that was volunteering. I was the one that was there for my kid at school. I was the one helping out their kids at school. And not to say that I'm better than anyone, but I'm just like any other mom.
You're just as capable.
I'm just a mom.
Just as awesome.
And a lot more patient.
Yes, I had to.
And you showed up.
And I showed up. And like I said, I'm not better than any other mom. I'm just a regular mom. And I felt like me showing up was just showing everyone that I'm just like everybody else, and treat me the same.
Thank you. Those are all really great answers. I appreciate your experience. Okay, so this one's probably the hottest question of the day. There's a lot of talk out there about what women should do when they're pregnant, what they should do when they're gonna have their baby. Everybody's got lots of opinions about these things, right? Lots of opinions. I know that I got lots of opinions and information from people I never even met before. Standing in the grocery store line. Oh, you have to do this, you have to do that. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. But what I'm really curious in talking about is opening up the floor to explore cannabis use during pregnancy and why we should be talking about this more. It's an incredibly hot topic. I literally just gave myself goosebumps because I'm sure someone just gasped in the room when I said that. I'm certain I heard it. My spidey sense got it. But, truth, the very first time that I heard about the concept of cannabis use during pregnancy, I had to pause for a moment because I have 2 kids. One's gonna be 16, one will be 12. And my first pregnancy was incredibly complicated. I was put on bed rest for 3 months because I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't drive. It was horrific. I was prescribed Zofran for my nausea, which is now known to cause birth defects. And I was miserable. I was so sick. And I did try Zofran when I was pregnant because I was desperate. I mean, I was crying every day. I was in so much misery. I actually even thought about terminating my pregnancy at one point because I was so sick. And when you've ever been so sick that you're desperate to feel better, you say things you don't mean, right? Well, by my second pregnancy, I had that conversation with myself about cannabis, and I ended up using cannabis in my second pregnancy and had none of these miserable experiences that I had. And so it was very controversial in my family. My husband, even at the time, ironically, was not a huge fan. He was okay with non-alcoholic beer, though. Weird. Yeah. Anyway, so I'd love to get a little bit of your feedback on cannabis use during pregnancy, and also what methodologies you find to be the most effective and for what things.
You provoked tears right now, Mandy, with that story. I got chills because it's just too close to home. What a lot of people don't know about me is that I'm the daughter of an officer. So I grew up in a very strict household with a cop for a dad.
Me too.
So yes, that's right, we share that. So he's the person I was talking about when I said I needed to tell somebody first I'm coming out. That's what I was talking about, in case he needed to bail me out. But at 26 weeks pregnant, I slipped and fell on a puddle in a grocery store, and I damaged my pelvis so severely that I was on bed rest. I was in incredible pain, and this is where you provoke the tears, because I became a different version of myself. Because when you're in that much pain, you start thinking thoughts that you never thought you could think. And doctors only wanted to give me opioids as options. And so, exhale, my daughter is beautiful and safe and healthy. Okay, everybody holds their breath when I say that. She came a little early, but I will say that the only option they gave me were these pharmaceuticals. And I wasn't a huge cannabis advocate or even consumer at this point in my life. It was just something I did at parties to have a good time. I was not a patient, and I was not at all aware of what I know now. So I think the challenge is not having the information that this was, in fact, the #1 prescribed pharmacopoeia before most of our parents were born, right? And that healthcare and medical professionals haven't been taught this in medical schools because of that fact. And, you know, the fake war on drugs and racial device policies and all those things. But I chose to use cannabis because I Googled natural remedies for chronic pain. And Google said, "Weed, lady!" No, she didn't really say that. I went down pages and pages of these new truths. They were new truths to me, and I couldn't believe it. And this was in 2012. And so I started making, here's your tool question, tinctures. I literally went new moon to full moon, weed and the alcohol in the freezer for 3 weeks, put it in a bottle, took 2 dropfuls 3 weeks later, and for the first time in my pregnancy, had no pain for hours. I stopped crying. I could get up and walk, and I could feel joy again. And to be high from a tincture, y'all, if you know what that's like, then it was also a new relationship I had formed with this plant, with her. And so I do advocate for tinctures. I do advocate for eating the weeds. Hot smoke is bad for developing brains, and hot smoke is, not helpful to the fetus. But I advocate for cannabinoid consumption during pregnancy. And we have to do it in a way that is mindful. We have to do it in a way that works for our families. But I'll shout it from the rooftops, and I do it via my story. And I had a fight with some doctors, but I'm here today to talk about it.
All right, this topic is obviously very near and dear to my heart. I've created my entire company and my entire platform based on this one notion that women deserve the right to free access. Well, I believe free access to cannabis, especially during pregnancy, but most importantly, safe access. Cannabis has been used for over 4,000 years in labor, in pregnancy, and in postpartum. There's absolutely no evidence that supports that cannabis harms anywhere, none, let alone inside a pregnancy. There's actually research that is coming out that is showing that it can actually help in a lot of ways. Cannabis can, that it helps form the developmental sides of the growing baby fetus. I'm not a doctor, so please don't hold me to these medical terms. One of the things that we always talk about when we're working with families
that are considering using cannabis in their pregnancy is harm reduction and the why behind what you're trying to use the cannabis for. So if you're trying to sleep, or if you're trying to not throw up, or if you're trying to reduce inflammation, there's a lot of things that go on in a pregnancy that people aren't aware of. We have a lot of patients that come through our clinic that are Crohn's disease. They have Crohn's disease, they have autoimmune diseases, and they're on these prescriptions prior to becoming pregnant. They get pregnant, they no longer can take these prescriptions because they are harmful to a growing baby fat. So they're looking for other alternatives because, as we're hearing up here, being pregnant in itself is a tough job. It wreaks havoc on your body for 9 months. And so, yeah, shit, 18 years, right? But we do not need to suffer through our pregnancies, is my point. And there are a lot of women out there who suffer through the pregnancies, and they don't need to. And cannabis can be a beautiful substance that you can utilize in harmony with your body during pregnancy to get relief. You don't have to suffer. And that's really my whole point, is that you can meet the parents and the women and the birthing people. I'm trying to become politically correct on these terms. Where they're at. And there is a place where cannabis can be used. So if you don't want to smoke, which we do know that inhalation of smoke during a pregnancy does restrict oxygen, but you have to also then consider what is worse. Is it worse for the mom to be puking every day, not sustaining nutrition? The growing baby is gonna lack all of these things. 30 seconds of not having oxygen, what's the risk benefit? And only the family can really decide that. And it's a very personal choice. And so I really believe that there is no reason why we shouldn't be introducing cannabis as a true medical option for managing symptoms in pregnancy. There really isn't. It's been used forever. There's no evidence that supports that it harms and it should be taken away from us. And women really, and families really need to fight for the option. There's only one way to manage pain and labor right now, and it's an epidural. It's a giant, super big needle that goes into the lumbar of your spine. Also causes a lot of nerve damage. Women report a lot of times having severe issues permanently from these. To this date, again, zero cases of cannabis causing harm to baby or mother. And I just really think that we have to look at that. 4,000 years of use. Cannabis, year after year, is the most used illicit drug by pregnant women. Still, 0 cases of harm. You cannot deny this.
I also want to add that our bodies make cannabinoids, hence the endocannabinoid system. So it is already present in our breast milk. Our children are learning to eat through our cannabinoids that are teaching them suckling. So cannabinoids are already present. I believe moms know best, and I believe cannabis is a human right. So when you wrap that up into a nice, perfectly packed package, you trust your instinct, you do what's best for your family, and you follow the best method that's going to be working for you. 14 years ago, when I was pregnant with my first child, I didn't have the accessibility that is present now, that's in this room right now. I didn't have tinctures, I didn't know about making tinctures, I only knew about smoking cannabis. And I only knew from Google was there wasn't enough research. But what I did know is that I had a family member who was taking anti-anxiety depressants, and her daughter was born without a stomach and had to spend the first 6 months of her life in Chalk in Orange County to skin graft her stomach back together because her doctor didn't disclose that Zoloft indeed causes birth defects. So it went to me, my calculations, do I want my child to end up like my family members? Absolutely not. Do I trust my body? Yes. Do I trust nature? Yes. Do I trust history? Yes. Okay, we're gonna go green. So if I could do it all again, yes, I would be, you guys that follow me, you know I'm an advocate for alternative methods of consumption. If I could do it all again, I would go back and I would do the tinctures and the capsules and the transdermal gel pens that I love so much. But the reality was, it's what's gonna be best for you and your baby. And if you only have access to the plant in one form, then so be it. We're not here to judge, we're here to encourage. And that's where I stand and that's where we all stand here today.
You know that word that keeps coming up, access.
Yes.
Access. You're right too. For you to point that out is so special today because we are sitting here in a room full of privilege around this plant, right? Yeah. knowing that we have access to it. I can call one of my friends and get some free weed if I need it.
Yeah, so
Right.
right to your door.
I can call Jess and text her and be like, "What's that patch you used
On the
last
side
week?"
of the freeway, the building says, we sell weed.
But like, you're right, 10 years ago, 14 years ago, and women who are not here today, who are not in this state, right? They don't have access. So learning how to do research, like going to Google and looking for Google Scholar and knowing what peer-reviewed research is, like let us not forget that we're sitting here with all this access today.
I want to circle back around because I want to just touch on the consumption methods during pregnancy. So obviously smoking, right, is the one that we hear the most about. It is the most effective way to consume cannabis to manage nausea. So inhalation just in general is going to hit your system better. If you are going to consume cannabis, I really encourage you to find clean, green, sun-grown, as best organically grown as possible. Obviously, we don't have an organic denotion, but know the farm. Follow it all the way back through the supply chain. It really starts in the ground, in the farm. I'm going to give a shout out to Sun-Grown, Epic Triangle. And then topically, so we heard some people talk about the transdermal patches. There's some great products out on the market. There is some tinctures. One of the tinctures in the Canna Cup, Women's Canna Cup Proof, they have a great tincture as well. Those are great ways that you can use and without having to get the smoke. Another great way is the creams, topical creams. Fiddler Greens is in here. They have a great topical cream as well. They also have an amazing tincture. So, I think that the more that women feel empowered to stand in their truth, we're going to learn the ways in which you can utilize the plant other than just inhalation. So, it can help with postpartum depression. It can help with your milk coming in. You can actually put the raw cannabis leaves directly on your breast right after pregnancy, and it will help reduce that. It's like flame. It feels like heat when your milk is coming in. It can help. Someone up here mentioned that the breast milk does have the endocannabinoids, and that can help when we are learning that babies who have failure to thrive, the mothers that then consume cannabis in their breast milk, it actually improves their children because the cannabinoids are attached to fat, comes through the milk, helps the baby gain weight. So there are a lot of positives, and so a lot of times we hear of like the harm, but we've never done real research and study to look at the benefits of it. So I just always push back on the research. Doctors are important, right? But they also aren't as educated in the endocannabinoid system. It was literally like 1 week freshman year in their education. Okay, so I just wanted to point that out that there are those ways of consumption, and I'd be interested to know if you guys experience any other ways for consuming other than topically. Tinctures.
I like the beverages.
The beverages. Okay,
Gummies.
Gummies.
Yeah. For my first pregnancy, before I was pregnant, I took antidepressants and anxiety, and I was taking Cytoplam and Trazodone. And I was well aware because they give you the side effects, and it's a whole list of side effects. And I remember reading that, and I was just like, wow, that's insane. It's almost scary, I'm taking this stuff every single day. I'm taking Trazodone to go to sleep and Cytoplam to wake me up in the morning. And I just became like a robot. I was a machine. I was just running on meds. And then, so before I got pregnant, I decided that I was gonna use cannabis because I felt that I was more present. I wasn't a zombie. I had feelings. I had empathy. I had a sex drive. That's probably why I got pregnant, because I stopped taking the meds, and then I felt pregnant, and then I was just like, so what do I do now? Am I going to keep smoking? Am I not? How do I go to sleep at night? How am I going to go to sleep at night? And you can't take melatonin, so if you've ever been pregnant, it's super uncomfortable, and I was already suffering from insomnia, so I used cannabis at night. So with my first pregnancy, I was not drug tested, and I just got by, and it wasn't like I was smoking every day. It was just when I really needed it. And because also when I was pregnant, I felt okay. I felt, your hormones are different. I just felt different. I felt happy. I was good. With my second pregnancy, I was more educated. And I was ready to, if they drug test me, I knew that the hospital was gonna drug test me. I knew that they were gonna drug test me, and I was very confident in going in and saying, yeah, drug test me, but you're gonna find cannabis. And I'm probably not gonna stop. And if you want to test me after when I have the baby, that's okay. CPS will get involved. Case drop. I know my rights. We're good. I was very confident in that. But then THC made me sick. I was having very, very, very bad nausea. I couldn't keep anything down. I wasn't gaining. Well, I wasn't gaining anyway, but the baby was getting bigger. So that's but that was okay. But I was miserable because I couldn't eat anything. I couldn't keep anything down. I couldn't sleep. I was very uncomfortable, heartburn all the time. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna keep trying. But it wasn't working for me. I couldn't, THC was just making me sick. I couldn't sleep. Like the room was spinning. It was not hitting it right. It was not working for me. So I had vented about that on Instagram, and someone reached out to me, and she said, I have a CBD tincture that is pure CBD, no THC. I can send you some free samples to try, and if you like it, I will send you a full bottle. I said, yes, please send it. I was so desperate for some relief. So she sends the samples, I take the CBD, and it was just like, literally felt the anxiety leave my chest. I wasn't nauseous. You still have food aversions where you're like, well, I don't want to eat that, but at least I didn't have the heartburn. I didn't feel nauseous. I felt I had some relief, and I was definitely prepared when I was gonna go give birth. I packed my go bag, and then I cracked my cannabis care package for myself, and I was able to pack some gummies so I can, feel this again for the first time after so many months. And I'm gonna pack my cannabis cell for pain, because I was using that throughout my pregnancy for massaging my back and my feet and everything, because you're in so much pain. So I packed that all to go. And I'm so glad I did, because on the way to the hospital, I didn't make it to the hospital, and I ended up having the baby in the car. What? I don't know the story. So I had her in the car, and I didn't make it. I made it outside. I made it to the drop-off lane. I just didn't make it inside. And so I was so thankful that I had packed that for myself, because one, I felt I was on an emotional roller coaster. I was grieving the birth that I thought I was gonna have. I didn't get to do the chest-to-chest because we were outside. Right away they took her, we were separated, took her upstairs to get warmed up. And luckily though, they kept the umbilical cord attached to her, and they waited for the blood to drain back in, and now they do that to make sure she's getting those vitamins and stuff. So I didn't get to see her until almost an hour after I had her, because they had to make sure that she was okay. So I was grieving that. Then it was, wow, that was really traumatic, because I've never experienced pain like that in my life. I have never experienced, I was screaming like I've never screamed before. And I was very scared, what if I have to have this baby right now on the side of the freeway? It was scary. And so there was that. There was just, and then you're in pain and you feel like you've been hit by a truck. And so I was just, as soon as, we were settled in our room, I was like, just rub me down. I was like, I need a full, my back was killing me, everything just hurt. And then postpartum hit, and I'm, again, so grateful for cannabis, because it got me through some really tough times. And I'm a stay-at-home mom, so I'm at home all day.
She has a lot of tough times.
Yeah, I get no breaks. This is a break for me today. And, for someone who really experienced postpartum twice, I feel like because I was more educated this time, that I really used it with intention. And it wasn't just to, drown my feelings. It was more of I'm gonna accept my feelings, I'm gonna ride this out. I know it's not me, it's my postpartum, and I just need to get through this. And I think I can confidently say that a year later, I have my moments, but I feel like I'm over that hill. And it's because I've been using cannabis intentionally, and not just cannabis, but really doing the work. I saw a therapist. Because I always say cannabis is not a cure. It's just an aid. It's gonna help us get through. You do have to put in the work to better yourself, to better your situation, and you literally come out stronger in the end.
Alright, so we
Can
have,
I, Danny, really quick, just touch on something she said about,
oh sure, we have 5 minutes left to see.
you talked about some of the minor cannabinoids, right? Because we think about THC, like it's THC, it's like out front, the entourage, and all the homies are behind it. But like really the molecular synergy of the plant's amazing. And so these minor cannabinoids, I think we really need to begin to explore in pregnancy. Like maybe it's CBN, maybe it's CBG, like what is it? So yeah, exactly. I just wanted to, because you brought up like CBD helped when THC didn't. And there's all these other little buddies too that we should be looking into.
CBN, yeah, CBN works great for sleeping too, yeah.
So we have about 4 minutes left. So what I'd like to do is give each of you a 60-second, closing statement, something to think about, something to ponder. And just right before we do this, I want to just take one quick, there's like a really great group of people here. How many folks in this room have had babies? And during that pregnancy, how many of you attempted some form of cannabis use? All right, if you are pregnant, you are not alone. Don't be scared. Come talk to one of us with our hands in the air after this. All right, Mommy Jane, take it away. Closing statement.
That's what I want to touch upon. I started the Mommy Jane because I was alone. Motherhood's extremely isolating, and so is being a canna mom, as we've all discovered from these anecdotes today. So I started the page because I was a stay-at-home mom who was raising 2 children in my cannabis use, and I was desperate. I was desperate for a community, so I built one. So find your community. Find the people that are going to support you. Find the pages where you feel welcome and educated and empowered and positively influenced. But we need to realize that we are all a village here. And it's up to us to share our stories, not be ashamed of our cannabis use, whether it's in, during, or after pregnancy. Please remember that our body has an endocannabinoid system that balances our health and wellness. I know I'm not supposed to use those words, but I'm going to say them today. It has helped me tremendously in my life, and I hope that you can find a way that it can help you today, okay? Follow me at the Mommy Jane if you want to. Otherwise, enjoy the Expo. This is history in the making, and I'm so grateful for all of you being here today and for the opportunity to speak.
As you know, I am Sabrina. I am Who Let Me Be a Mom on Instagram. The name was inspired by judgy people who let you be a mom. And I also think that the phrase is something that, as a mother, you thought either once in your motherhood, who will let me be a mom? Who, when you're feeling overwhelmed. I also created the Instagram because I was at the time in Utah, and I've never felt a stigma before in my life, really, until I was in Utah, and I was just like, wow, this is very different. And as soon as I moved to Arizona, I feel like that's when I knew what my message really was, and it was, like you said, community. I really wanted to find my community. My husband's job moves us from place to place, and as a stay-at-home mom, it gets lonely. So I began hosting Who Let Me Be a Mom meetups, where mothers get to come together and we all, talk about motherhood, we share cannabis, and it's just a great experience. And then now I host events for women who use cannabis, and it's just really, as we all know, the cannabis industry is very male dominant, and I want to provide a safe place for women and mothers where we can come together, meet like-minded moms. It's so hard to meet another mom who uses cannabis, and I want to provide that safe place for everyone where they can find a friend, they can consume cannabis safely and openly, and I hope that anyone who comes to these events and they leave feeling just like the plant, empowered and beautiful, and to know that they are not alone.
So my Ms. Kindness is not just my given name, but it's also a calling, and it was set with intention, and by my father. And all. But since I was 3 years old, I knew I wanted to be a teacher. I knew that I was supposed to have and facilitate conversations that empowered people to learn. And today, 40 years later, I still believe that that is the way we're going to create change. By making sure that those who come after us know more than we do. By making sure that the youth take messages that are informed and empowered out into the world, out to their peers, so that when I'm looking back, from that place I'm going to be when I'm a bodhisattva in the sky, and I see my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren, I know I did my job by making sure that we taught them the truth and that we were willing to share and learn alongside them. So if there's anything I want people to know after I'm gone and buried, it's that I told people what I could.
You did your part to understand.
All right, I'm gonna be quick here. My name is Kelly Bruce. You can follow me at Cannamami Nonprofit. You can also follow us at Cannamami Cultivation. And you can follow me personally at the Cannamami. My entire mission in life is to redefine how motherhood feels using cannabinoids and natural medicines. I truly believe that mothers heal the world and that cannabis can help mothers heal themselves. So thank you again, Mandy, and thank you so much to the California State Fair for allowing us to be here and including cannabis for the first time ever in 168 years. If you guys have any questions, feel free to come reach out to us. We will be here after the panel. Thank you again so much for being here.
Don't mind us, we're just out here making history, y'all.
So obviously the biggest theme here is education, education, education. And on that note, of course, like Kelly said, thank you to the State Fair, but also thank you to Cultivar Brands and Brian Applebar and his entire team, because literally this is the supreme education going on right here. This is our opportunity, and so many of you are my colleagues. Never take off your hat of being a teacher. We will be educators about this plant for the remainder of our lives. So please do a good job and don't ever get tired of that. That's your calling. Thank you so much.